Hi, this is Terry. Welcome to my podcast. I now have a senior level programmer working with me, and for free, well, almost. I'm no longer the lone developer doing all the project coding, design, debugging, and documentation by himself. I integrated a frontier model AI, DeepSeek, version 4 Pro, right into the core hub of my Fossil distributed code versioning system. It talks to me in the live chat window, just like a real human programmer working on the project with me would be, if there were one. This new system is way better in almost every way than even my just finished Zorg Studio was, and that was incredibly useful. My AI co-hosts explain this really well in the podcast, in my opinion. The lone developer scenario is now history, so sit back and enjoy the podcast to hear the details.
Imagine building a fully functional, voice-controlled AI agent from scratch,
Right.
and imagine doing it in exactly 4 hours.
Which is just wild to even think
It
about.
really is. And the most shocking part of this entire story, the person who built it is a 72-year-old retired electronics technician who, by the way, explicitly claims he's not a programmer.
Yeah, he completely flips the script on who gets to build software, and honestly, how it actually gets built.
Exactly. So welcome to the deep dive. Our session today is to explore how this concept called systems thinking is basically democratizing software creation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's melting away that massive barrier between like having a brilliant idea and actually making it a reality. And we're going to look at what this radical shift means for your own ability to build complex projects.
Yeah, because it challenges the core assumption of the whole tech industry. I mean,
Yeah.
usually when we picture the architecture of a new AI tool, we envision, entire teams of formally trained software engineers.
Right, like rows of desks and people typing frantically.
Exactly. We picture computer science degrees, highly complex, syntax-heavy development environments. But this case study with the Fossil AI agent dismantles that stereotype entirely.
It really does.
We're moving away from an era where you must speak the machine's language perfectly into this new era where the machine is finally adapting to yours.
Okay, let's unpack this. We really need to set the stage with the creator of this system, Terry.
Yeah, his background is crucial here.
Right. So think about the last time you, the listener, had a brilliant idea for an app or a tool or a website, but you abandoned it because, well, you didn't know Python or C++.
A classic roadblock.
It is. But Terry's background suggests that barrier might already be an illusion. I
Right.
mean, he has zero academic qualifications in computer science.
None at all.
He spent his entire career as an electronics technician, basically assisting engineers, designing circuits, handling hardware before he retired.
Yeah, he didn't even learn the C programming language until 1997.
Which means he was, what, 43 years old?
Right, exactly 43. Which means he only learned exactly enough code to, communicate with his hardware. He is an electronics guy at his core.
Sure.
But that non-traditional mindset, that total lack of orthodox software engineering training, it actually became his greatest advantage.
How so?
Well, prior to the breakthrough we are discussing today, Terry was already experimenting with AI-assisted coding using a tool called OpenCode.
Yep.
And to manage his workflow, he had cobbled together this custom development environment that he called Zorg Studio.
Right, and looking at the sources, Zorg Studio sounds incredibly utilitarian.
Yeah.
Like a technician's workbench.
Very much so.
He just glued together existing tools to get a job done. He was using Midnight Commander, which, for those who haven't used it, is this really old-school text-based file manager from the 90s.
Oh yeah, lots of blue screens and keyboard shortcuts.
Exactly. It lets you navigate directories rapidly using just a keyboard. And he used that alongside a standard terminal and a speech-to-text tool he called Zorg Speech.
It was functional, but, it was heavily fragmented.
Right.
He was constantly context switching between the file manager, the code editor, and the voice transcription tool. The physical constraint of duct taping these separate applications together was actually slowing him down.
Yeah, the friction of the tools was just getting in the way of the actual creation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that friction leads directly to the turning point of this whole story.
Oh, this is my favorite part. Our sources detail this incredible moment where Terry is asleep. And in the middle of the night, his subconscious basically wakes him up and scolds him.
Yeah, it's a great anecdote.
He realizes, and this is a direct quote from his notes, "Hey, dummy, Fossil has always had the multi-developer features you needed. It was made for this. Why are you using OpenCode?"
Right. And to understand why that midnight realization is so pivotal, we really have to look at the mechanics of Fossil itself.
Okay, let's do that.
So Fossil is a version control system. Most people are familiar with Git, right?
Yeah,
Which tracks changes in your code.
sure, Git is everywhere.
It is. But Git usually relies on external cloud platforms like GitHub or GitLab to handle things like project chat, bug tracking, and documentation.
Oh, I see.
Fossil, on the other hand, is entirely self-contained. It stores your code repository, a ticketing system, a wiki, and a multi-user chat room, all inside a single local SQLite database file on your hard drive.
Wow, okay, so everything is just in one place.
Exactly.
So instead of trying to build some convoluted software bridge to connect his file manager to an AI interface, Terry realized the infrastructure for collaboration already existed inside Fossil.
He didn't need to build a new house. The house was already there.
Right, he could just treat the AI as another human developer sitting in the project's built-in chat room. It's less like trying to solder a new AI chip onto your motherboard and more like just giving the AI a chair at the conference table.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
But let me challenge this approach for a second. Is this realization something a traditional, formally trained programmer would have missed? Because they're conditioned to write new syntax from scratch rather than leveraging existing systems.
What's fascinating here is that you've isolated the exact difference between a programming mindset and a systems thinking mindset.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a traditional programmer encounters a bottleneck and immediately asks, what new application do I need to code to solve this?
Right, they just want to build something new.
Exactly. They drop straight into the syntax, writing loops and logic gates. But Terry spent a lifetime designing circuits. He doesn't think in syntax.
He thinks in systems.
Yes, systems and logical architecture. He looks at inputs, outputs, existing components. He saw that Fossil was already a perfectly designed socket. He just needed to plug the AI into it.
And because he shifted his paradigm from, I need to write a new application to, I just need to add an automated user to this existing database, the timeline for building this tool shrank dramatically.
Radically shrank.
Right. Because he wasn't reinventing the wheel, we get to the 4-hour sprint.
Yeah, the sequence of events during those 4 hours perfectly illustrates the raw efficiency of systems thinking.
According to his logs, after that midnight wake-up call, Terry just got up, made a pot of coffee, and started building.
As one does.
Right. And by lunchtime, the entire system was architected, tested, and running.
It's incredible.
So let's break down the actual mechanism of what he built in that tiny window. He wrote a Python daemon. And for the listener, a daemon is just a script that runs continuously in the background of your computer.
Right, like a relentless receptionist constantly checking an inbox.
Exactly. And in this case, the inbox is Fossil's local SQLite database.
Right, so the Python daemon runs a continuous loop. It's querying the database every few seconds, specifically looking at the chat table.
Just asking, are there any new messages?
Yes. And when Terry types the trigger word @AI, followed by a command into that chat room, the daemon detects it and springs into action.
But it doesn't just blindly forward the text to a large language model, does it?
No, not at all. It actually prepares a full briefing package. The daemon parses the local directory, reads the file tree, pulls the recent commit history to see what code was just changed, and grabs any open bug tickets.
Wow. So it gathers all the context.
All of it. It packages the entire state of the project and sends all of that, along with Terry's command, straight to the LLM.
Okay, so the LLM processes that really comprehensive briefing. But its response isn't just conversational text, right?
No, and this is the magic part. Because of the permissions Terry configured, the LLM generates actual shell commands and code edits.
He actually does the work.
It writes new files, runs local build commands to test if the code compiles, and then commits those changes directly back into the Fossil repository, and it logs its actions in the chat.
That is wild.
Yeah.
You know, we hear the phrase vibe coding thrown around a lot in the tech space right now, usually to describe people generating software using natural language.
Yeah, vibe coding is the buzzword of the year.
Right, but Terry's process seems like the ultimate evolution of vibe coding. He is acting purely as the systems architect, handling the high-level logic and the circuitry in his head, while the AI serves as his hands.
It's dealing with all the tedious syntax of Python or C++.
Exactly.
And his background in hardware circuits heavily influenced this architecture. In electronics, you don't build a resistor from scratch every time.
Right, you'd never get anything done.
Exactly. You take an off-the-shelf component and wire it into your logical design. Terry had treated the large language model as another logical component in his circuit.
He manages the rapid iteration and the vision, and the AI handles the typing.
It is concrete proof that you no longer need to be a syntax expert to create really complex software.
Absolutely. So by lunchtime, he had an AI coworker reading chat commands, writing code, and testing it.
Oh.
But almost immediately, he hit a physical bottleneck.
Right, the human element.
Yeah, if the AI can write 1,000 lines of code in seconds, the new limitation is how fast the human can type out the initial instructions.
Which, for Terry, is a real issue.
It is. He suffers from repetitive strain injury, or RSI, and a trigger finger. So typing long, complex prompts was physically painful.
So what does a systems thinker do?
He iterates. He iterated on the system later that exact same day by integrating voice control.
Right, and this physical reality dictates a completely different approach to user interface design.
Yeah, he didn't build a massive, complex voice application. He built a tiny desktop graphical user interface with a simple microphone button.
Very minimalist.
And he wired this up to a Whisper model, which is a highly accurate local speech-to-text model he already had from his older Zorg speech setup.
So he just clicks the button to record, speaks his logical architecture out loud, clicks stop, and the Whisper model transcribes the audio.
Exactly. And that text is then injected directly into the Fossil SlideChat database, tagged automatically as @AI voice.
Brilliant. So the Python daemon sees the new entry, and the whole contextual coding process kicks off again.
Just from his voice.
Yeah, and this raises a really important question about how the software industry approaches accessibility.
Oh, that's a great point.
Often, features for users with physical limitations are bolted onto a product years after it launches, like as an afterthought or just a compliance measure.
Right, like an extra menu you have to dig into.
Exactly. But in this case, because the creator was building specifically for his own physical constraints, voice control wasn't a gimmick. It was a vital, native interface born out of absolute necessity.
The system conforms to his physical reality, rather than forcing him to fight through the pain of a keyboard.
Precisely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Think about your own workflow, listener. Whether you are coding, writing, or researching, you rarely have just one single project open.
Oh, I usually have about 50 tabs open.
Right. So if Terry is bouncing between 20 different projects a day, dropping voice notes into various chats, how does the AI keep it all straight?
Context collision is a huge problem in AI.
Yeah, if he says, fix the routing error, how does the daemon know which project's context to gather without cross-contaminating the data?
Well, the brilliance of the Python daemon lies in its auto-discovery mechanism.
Okay, tell me about that.
Terry didn't want to manually configure file paths every single time he started a new project. That would add friction back in.
Right, nobody wants to do that.
So the daemon is actually programmed to scan his hard drive, specifically looking for the hidden .fossil files that indicate a repository exists in that folder.
So it maps everything out.
Yeah, it builds a dynamic map of every project on his machine.
So it's actively monitoring his active environment. It looks at which local web port his browser is currently accessing to view a specific Fossil chat room.
Precisely. If he's in a browser tab for a hardware schematic project and types @AI, the daemon isolates the context gathering to that specific directory path.
Oh, that's incredibly smart.
And if he switches tabs to a Python web scraper project and uses voice control, the daemon seamlessly pivots. It grabs only the file tree and commit history for the web scraper,
The AI always knows exactly which virtual room it is standing in.
entirely eliminating context confusion.
Wow. So an electronics technician who physically struggles to type has engineered a system where he can seamlessly hop between 20 active repositories, speak his logical commands out loud, and watch an AI perfectly implement the code within the correct context.
All locally, all natively.
And because he embedded the AI so deeply inside the version control system, he accidentally solved one of the oldest, most universally despised problems in the history of software development.
Documentation.
Yes, documentation.
It is the absolute holy grail of project management. Programmers, engineers, creators of all types notoriously hate writing documentation.
It is the ultimate chore. It's the task you promise yourself you will do when the project is finished, and then you just never do it.
Never.
Terry freely admits he hates writing manuals just as much as anyone else.
But let's examine the mechanics of how his system bypasses this chore entirely. Because the AI agent lives inside the Fossil repository, and because it is the one actively committing the code changes, it is intimately aware of the diffs.
And for anyone unfamiliar, a diff is just a specific line-by-line comparison of what was added or deleted in a file, right?
Exactly. More importantly, because the AI generated those diffs based on a conversation in the chat room, it understands the underlying intent and the rationale behind the changes.
It knows the why, not just the what.
Exactly.
So when Terry finishes a development sprint, he doesn't open a blank document to write a summary. He just clicks his microphone button and says, log the latest changes in the wiki.
And boom, the AI pulls the recent diffs, references the chat history for context, and writes an itemized, highly detailed explanation of the new architecture in plain English.
That's amazing.
It is. And it outputs this text in Markdown, which is, a lightweight formatting language, using simple symbols for headers and bullet points.
Right. Very clean.
And then the Fossil Wiki automatically renders that Markdown into clean, readable HTML. First-class, comprehensive documentation is generated instantly.
Without Terry typing a single word.
Not one word.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit because the tech industry has been selling automated documentation tools for a decade.
Sure, they have.
Software like Doxygen has been around forever, scanning code bases and spitting out manuals. What makes this Fossil AI setup fundamentally different from the tools developers already use?
The crucial distinction here is between scraping syntax and actually understanding logic.
Okay, expand on that.
Legacy tools like Doxygen are essentially just highly advanced text scrapers. They comb through your files, locate the comments you manually typed, extract the names of your functions and variables, and then they format that raw data into a nice-looking PDF or web page.
Right.
But if you write poorly structured code and forget to leave comments, a scraper just generates a beautifully formatted, completely useless document.
It just highlights the mess.
Exactly. It doesn't actually understand what the program does.
I see. It's like an assistant copying notes from a whiteboard without understanding the math behind it.
Yes.
But Terry's system is more like having a highly trained stenographer in an operating room who actually understands the surgical procedure.
Oh, that is the perfect analogy.
They aren't just copying down the names of the tools being used. They're actively observing the surgery and writing the postoperative notes explaining why a specific incision was made.
Spot on. The LLM comprehends the purpose of the code because it was literally part of the logical discussion that created it.
That makes total sense.
So documentation ceases to be this burdensome, retroactive chore that teams endlessly procrastinate on. It becomes a natural, automated side effect of simply doing the work.
And the AI never complains about having to write the wiki.
Never.
It never gets bored, it doesn't put it off until Friday afternoon, and it never misses a deadline. It just consistently logs the evolution of the project.
Which creates massive long-term efficiency. It frees the human mind from the administrative overhead of project management,
leaving the creator entirely focused on their primary skill.
Designing the next logical system.
So what does this all mean for you, listener? How do you take this story of a 4-hour development sprint and apply it to your own ambitions?
Well, the best part is you can start right now.
Exactly. Because the most incredible part of this deep dive is that Terry didn't lock this architecture away behind a paywall.
No, he didn't.
His entire Fossil AI agent project, the Python daemon, the auto-discovery mechanisms, the voice integration scripts, it is entirely open source.
It carries a permissive MIT license.
Yes, and it is living right now in his public Fossil repository.
Which means the barrier to entry for setting this up yourself is virtually non-existent. You don't have to possess his background in electronics or, spend 4 hours building the daemon from scratch.
Right, the work is done.
Anyone listening can locate his repository, clone the system to their local machine, point it at their own projects, and have a voice-controlled AI coworker running today.
You can stand on the shoulders of his system's thinking.
Exactly.
It levels the playing field in a way that just feels historically significant. If you can think logically, if you can visualize a system's inputs and outputs in your head, you can now build the software to run it.
You do not need to spend a decade memorizing the syntax of modern programming languages.
No, you just need to know how to clearly communicate your vision to the system.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate lesson of the Fossil AI agent is pretty profound.
I'm listening.
The current rush toward AI-assisted programming isn't actually about helping engineers write more lines of code faster.
It's not.
No, it is about making the physical act of programming increasingly irrelevant. A retired hardware technician used systems thinking and AI to become a prolific software creator simply by delegating the keystrokes to a machine. This architecture permanently removes the barrier for future inventors who have brilliant ideas but just lack traditional coding expertise.
Which leaves us with a truly wild concept to chew on as we wrap up today.
Let's hear it.
If AI agents become so perfectly integrated into our environments that they seamlessly write the code, execute the tests, and translate the logic into perfect, plain language documentation for us to read, well, will future generations of developers even know what underlying code looks like?
That is the million-dollar question.
Or will traditional programming languages fade entirely into the background, becoming an invisible machine-to-machine dialect that we, as humans, simply no longer need to speak? Keep thinking. Let the machines handle the typing.
This concludes the podcast. Thank you for watching. I hope you have found this podcast useful, and as always, if you have any constructive comments, I would like to read them, so drop them in the comments section below.